Welcome to Life and Style-ish. I'm India. If this is your first time here or whether you've been here before, thank you so much for visiting my channel and checking out my episode. So in this particular episode, I make a fountain and a tabletop fountain. And I also I worked on enlarging my workspace. I had a small workspace, so I just wanted to enlarge that. So I used some items that I purchased from Goodwill and Amazon. So the reason why I did these two particular projects with the workspace, because my workspace was pretty tight and didn't really have much workspace to utilize. The workspace itself was, I believe, 33 inches across and 12 feet wide. So it wasn't a very wide workspace to work with. Now I have a much roomier workspace. I'm so much happier with it. So I'm going to show that to you, what I did with that. And also the fountain, I found this shelf at Goodwill, and I looked at it just trying to figure out what I could possibly do with it. And that's really what I was inspired to do. It had two separate areas inside of it, so I thought, well, I wouldn't just do a fountain, I could do a planter as well. So I'm really excited to show those to you and show you what I did to kind of hook those up. Yeah, just check those out. And like I said, I appreciate you stopping by. So without further ado, here we go. All right, so here what I'm doing, this is my first plan actually. So I just took a wooden box underneath just to give it a little bit of support. And then the next item I was going to use was the container. That plastic container is what the water is going to go into. And then the tray just had some rocks on it, and I had drilled some drainage holes that I thought I was going to have the fountain just kind of attached to the back, but the tubing was making it kind of problematic for me to be able to have everything stacked all together. And then the other issue I was dealing with was that you could see the top of the plastic container at the very top as well. So that didn't go over quite like how I wanted. So I had to kind of rethink my plan and what I was going to do. So I took the tray, and the tray that you see there it's like a dollar store tray, not anything super fancy. And those are the four drainage holes that I drilled. I went back and drilled another hole, and that one is for the tubing to go through from the kit, the fountain kit. So I just did that, and then went ahead, took it back outside, and this was my second attempt. So I just went ahead and put the tubing in, and that made it a lot easier. So just had it sitting there on top. And I didn't want to attach the bamboo to anything, because I didn't know if the plan, this was going to work out, and it seemed like I was having so many issues with it that I didn't want to just attach it and then have to take it apart, because I already had to do that with the fountain, with the fountain pieces itself, having to take certain ones apart. So I didn't want to have to do that. So and then later on I may decide to use it for a completely different fountain in a different container. So I thought it was best to just go ahead and leave it just sitting on top, and it's balanced perfectly. It's not, once it's kind of sitting down and had the pump was in the water, it wasn't going anywhere. So I felt like it was pretty secure. Like unfortunately right here, because the box underneath was so much smaller than the container, it almost fell over, but thankfully I caught it in time. So I'm just arranging it. But yeah, I just don't like how you can see the plastic on top. So that's one of the issues that I was working with. So after scrapping the last plan, I just went ahead and took out that small box there, just took it out completely. And now I'm just filling in everywhere with rocks. And it seemed like that was going to be the better thing to do. I still have the tray there. The tray is sitting on top, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But right now what I'm doing is, since it's such a large space, I was just filling in with all the rocks that I could, just trying to move the larger ones out of the way so that I can fill the gap in with smaller ones. So that's all I'm doing right here. So once I get the rocks situated where I want them to be, now I'm just filling in the container with water. And since I had the drain holes, I didn't have to raise the tray up in order to pour the water in. I just had to pour it slowly because the drain holes are not very big. But yeah, it's working out pretty well. But yeah, that's all I'm doing here, just refilling the container with water. Once I've finished refilling with the container with water, now I'm just reassembling the pump kit, just putting that back together. So that was super simple, and that's all I'm doing right here. So this is the final look. This is when everything is completely done, all put together exactly how I wanted. This is so beautiful. It turned out really, really great. Way better than I thought. And I'm just kind of proud of myself that I put this together. Yeah, so the flow of the water, I can adjust it to higher or lower, and adjust the rocks as well to kind of adjust the sound. So I really, really like that. But I am so happy with this. All right, so next project is my expanded workspace. So right here, I'm just clearing off everything that I don't need, anything that's going to be getting in the way. Notebooks and chargers, cords, all that sort of stuff, just kind of getting that out the way. And now I'm just taking out the screws from the wall as well as the worktop itself, because what I'm going to end up doing is using that worktop. I'm going to be cutting that down to use as supports for my table. And so I'm just taking the screws out of that now. So my new desk is going to be a standalone desk, so it's not going to be attached to the wall. So I felt that was another reason why I was just wanting to go ahead and get rid of the brackets anyway, because I'm not going to end up using them. So this is my workspace all cleared, not necessarily clean, but it is cleared. So next I'm going to go ahead and get started on the desktop, as well as attaching the legs to the desk as well. All right, so here what I'm doing is measuring out how far how long I want them to be, as well as how wide. I think I went about 6 inches across with the support pieces, and I think I'm not sure how wide I made it, but I believe it's 20 inches. I believe I'm measuring out 20 inches as far as the length, and then the width was about 6 inches on that. After I make my measurements, I go ahead and grab my circular saw and start making my cuts. And just go ahead and cut right along the line. But it's a circular saw, so they're not going to be like super straight cuts. I can only get it so straight. So I did the best I could, but yeah, just going ahead and working through that and having those two pieces cut down. That's going to make it so much easier for me to be able to add the support pieces and do what I need to do. The support pieces are cut down. I went ahead and just laid them out just to make sure that they are the right length that I need and that they'll fit properly, and that I can go ahead and just screw them in. So that's what I'm doing now, just kind of checking, because they're not completely square, but I mean, for the project that I need, it's fine. It's totally going to work. So I don't have an issue with that. It's not going to be aesthetically pleasing, and I'll show that to you, but it's definitely functional. It's exactly what I needed. I just needed like a larger workspace. So that's basically what I was going for, was just kind of a larger workspace, and not something that was going to be super beautiful, but I can always down the road paint it or add trim to it to kind of cover up the mistakes that I made. So here what I was doing, I was trying to measure out 1 inch in on both corners, but it was a little difficult because the support piece is not completely straight and flat, and so that was a little bit hard trying to measure in. So I just decided to go ahead and just try to eyeball it, an inch in as best I could. It's still a really wide workspace because it ended up measuring out 35 inches. So I added a few extra inches on the length as well. So I figure since it's giving me a larger workspace that it's totally going to work even if I make the legs a little, screw them in a little bit closer in, but I still have a lot of workspace. So I'm just using the same leg to kind of outline the holes and drawing the holes with the pen so I know exactly where I need to drill the pilot holes. So that's what I'm doing there. And right there, I'm just going ahead and drilling the pilot holes for it all the way around. Once the pilot holes are done, I go ahead and add the table legs and the screws. And it worked out perfectly adding the support because it added that extra thickness to the wood that I really needed without me having to go out and buy a whole nother board. So that was really, really convenient. I just used some wood that I already had, so I didn't have to use anything else or have to buy anything else. And that's really what I like doing is reusing what I can around my house already. As you can see from my messy garage that I keep a lot of stuff because I never know what I'm gonna reuse or repurpose into something else. So yeah, I'm just turning my table over just to make sure it is secure and everything is screwed in. And yeah, so far it looks like it's pretty good. Unfortunately, as you can see here, you can see the support piece, like I said, underneath there. And this is like a full view of the table. I was doing some painting, and so I used this table because I knew I was going to I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it anyway. So it wasn't really that big of a deal to have a little bit of paint splatter on it. I think I still do have paint on it because still haven't figured out whether I'm going to refinish it with stain or paint. I'm not sure. And this is after I brought it in from the garage. I haven't really cleaned up, as you can see, or put anything on it yet. But yeah, as you can see, it still does have the paint. I have not changed that. At some point I will. And I'm thinking to probably do some trim around the edge there just to kind of camouflage the support pieces underneath. I think that would be a good thing to do. But again, that's maybe for another time. For right now, I just needed like a bigger workspace, and this absolutely provides it. So yeah, it's been really, really nice having a larger space to work. And so, yeah, you can see here where I have everything in place now. My calendar is back up. I get to see Idris every day of the year. I'm so grateful for that. Shout out to my friend who bought that for me as a Christmas present. So yeah, everything is organized, put away, little cords are underneath there. Like I said, I love the minimalist sort of design, just the hairpin legs and the wooden top, and that's it, super simple. Everything, I have, lots of little storage cubbies and whatnot, and I have a couple of shelves just above that I use for storing smaller items. So yeah, this is it. I really, really like it. It came out really well. I like the natural wood, so I don't know. Maybe I'll just go ahead and leave it how it is. We'll see. But yeah, so this is it. It's the final look of my workspace. All right, guys, that is it for me. Thanks so much for watching, and I appreciate it. If you would like to check me out on my socials, I'm at Twitter, Facebook, as well as Pinterest and Instagram. And it's lifeandstyleish.com altogether. And I appreciate you for watching. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday or whenever you're watching this. Really appreciate it. And see you guys next week.